Tesla Vice President Ashok Goswami just called Tesla's full self-driving a different kind of AGI. Today, we'll watch 5 videos of full self-driving in China. One that showed how FSD seemed to have a mind of its own. Another that hints that FSD might remember the roads it's driven on before. And several where the owner credits FSD for saving their lives. FSD is about to be offered as a monthly subscription in China, and there are reports that soon FSD might be rolled out in Europe, starting with the Netherlands. Finally, Tesla's China rival Zeekr just announced they'll roll out their advanced driver assistance for free. It's the opposite of what people have been saying. It's actually Tesla, who's a fierce competitor to the Chinese brands. We'll also review last week's sales for Tesla in China. It's looking possible for Tesla to beat last year's Q1. So I've got Hans Nelson joining us. Hans has a YouTube channel called Hans C. Nelson. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
This is our favorite shows, to actually watch videos of how FSD is performing in China. They are shocked and they're excited. If you listen to their intonation, it's looking really, really good so far. And so let's watch some of the interesting ones that came out just this week. Ray for Tesla shared this. Chinese FSD testers were blown away. Couldn't believe what happened. FSD was looking for road entrance in a big open lot. It's a big open lot. It's looking for the road entrance. No markings on the ground, no signs. FSD recognized not going off the edge of the lot. It almost looked like FSD was conscious, sort of knowing what was happening. And Elon said it will only get better. And Ashok said some would say it's a different kind of AGI. So let's watch this.
我靠，它的速度不慢呀！我靠，有点吓人啊！我靠，这个时候它的车机画面上其实画不出来那个图了。
I mean, it might be seeing the. There's no road markings, but it can kind of see that road cars have been here.
Yeah, and it can also definitely see the actual road over on the left. You could see the cars driving in the visualization on the actual road. This is the good part right here. Yeah, like so it kind of drops off right there, and the Tesla's like, nope, ain't going there.
Oh wow. Okay.
我靠，这么牛逼吗？
All that excitement.
完了，这个他知不知道从右边上去？
So it's searching for the entrance.
I mean, it looks very human-like. I could imagine doing basically the same thing, trying to find, hey, can I get out over this way? Oh no, I can't. And then just going back to the point where I'm assuming that they entered this lot.
I mean, for it to even know what it's doing, like, what is this? Does it even know it's a lot? I guess it does, right? Because of the maps.
It's, yeah, it can kind of like, it can tell that where it is, like right around it, is drivable, that it's smooth enough, and that you can kind of see the tire marks and stuff. Just like, if you're out in a field or whatever, FSD can sometimes find its way out of parking lots and stuff, where they do like big events, and maybe they're using grass field or gravel field or whatever as parking.
This must be the entrance to the parking lot and figured it out. There it is. You see that? You see the down below? It noticed it and it showed you that it's an exit.
Yeah, and you can see the path. Finally, it's like, aha, there it is. Here I go. And that's another just cool aspect of the visualization, that you can really see what the car is thinking there, where it didn't have the blue path until it finally recognizes, like, aha, here's the exit. And then now, like right now, I'm just looking around because I have no idea where to actually go. So I don't have a plan. I'm just looking. And then, oh, there's the exit. Now I have a plan. Let's execute and go.
Exactly. That tells you that you can tell what it's thinking. Ashok says some would say it's a different kind of AGI. Pretty cool.
A real world kind.
That's a cool one. Okay, here's another one. Thank you to Aaron Lee, who's been sharing all these videos coming from Douyin, which is TikTok, Tesla, or China's version of TikTok. An elderly driver got FSD the 1 month free trial. So Tesla just released in China FSD for free 1 month free trial, which means that very likely within a month they're going to offer subscription monthly subscription too. That's coming soon, it looks like, and they're seeing some code sometimes. So we'll see. He finds it amazing, easing future long trips and daily commutes. And then Aaron added subtitles. Elderly driver.
Yeah, he said, "Ha, it's nice that it stopped at the road light." Oh, good. Better than you drive, right?
You know, like, I think you said this before, right? Like, this is the kind of stuff we said when we first were trying it out.
Yeah. Oh, hey, it yields to pedestrians, see?
Yeah. And this is both scooters and people walking.
Bicycles, yeah.
That's interesting. You're too polite, because I think in China, would you have waited, or do you just go ahead and, you know, beat in and say, "Tell you stop" instead of me? And that's fair. Yep. That's not just China. This is like something how people in New York would drive for something like that. I noticed one time, it was funny. Like I was, you know, I'm from Seattle, and there's like courtesy here, right? You always let whoever's there first before you, right? And it's in fact the silly thing is like, no, you go. That happens here. But if you go to New York and you even hesitate a little bit, all the drivers get mad at you. Like, what do you get going, dude? Because it's like, it's known there that that's your how to drive. And so it needs to learn how to drive in New York versus Seattle versus China. And so here's interesting. Is it too polite in China? Still, for safety reasons, you know. Yeah. So what do you think about this? This is elderly drivers. Do you think that elderly drivers, because, you know, somebody told me before, like, I think Larry Goldberg was saying that, you know, he thinks that this is a huge market for elderly. And I'm like, they're like the last group that's going to even want to try something new, you know?
Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of skepticism from older people that I talk to, but I think there is a cutoff between like someone who's older and just not necessarily very tech savvy, and they're still fully capable of driving, versus once they get to that point where they can't see very well, or for whatever reason they can't drive very well and they feel very uncomfortable driving, I think those people might actually then be a lot more open to trying it. And then I think it's so easy that once you try it, that it is something that they can learn and benefit greatly from. So I think it's going to kind of be a both, and that there's going to be a lot of old people that are just like, no, I don't want to deal with this at all, ever. But I think there's going to be a segment of the population that does actually adopt this specifically because they want the freedom to move around, but they don't want to be responsible for driving, or they can't drive, or whatever. You know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why someone would be interested in being able to do this.
All right. I just want to show that video because it's like, it's a same reaction that we all have, but this is an elderly driver and just freaking out how great it is. That's what you're saying.
And it's great that it's working that well already in China. And then one of the things that I do wonder about is how does the quality of the map data that Baidu has in China impact how well the FSD system works in China? Because I do think that might actually be something, and I haven't heard anyone else talk about this, really not having enough hands-on experience. It's hard for me to know, but if Baidu's maps are higher quality in China than Google Maps are here in the United States, I definitely know that when I drive, that errors in the map navigation are usually some of the most frequent pain points that I have with FSD, is where it's not the FSD can't execute the maneuver, it's that it was told to do the wrong thing by the navigation system. And if Baidu has a lower error rate on that kind of stuff, then the overall experience of the system, even though it's the exact same driver decision-making model, would actually be higher in China than in the United States. And like I said, I don't have an ability to really test that, but it is something that I'm very curious about.
Yeah, well, last week, right? They announced that Tesla engineers are going and meeting with the Baidu engineers to try to improve the mapping system. That's what they need to work on now. But the rest of it so far is working really well. So you've got another vision article or thing here that I wanted to ask you about. This is a big one. Does FSD remember the roads it has driven on? The driver noted that FSD hesitated on a road with branches needing a nudge to proceed, but then when it returned to that same road, it confidently sped through it. He suspects FSD remembers the route. Do you have a similar experience with FSD? I do. And for example, my driveway, I have this, my driveway, right? So, first it's always very hesitant trying to figure, because it's a curvy driveway to get out. Now it's going right through it. Now, is it because I've been through it so many times that it's figured it out or not? I think so, but you don't think so, right? So let's watch this first and get your opinion. I guess we didn't have this one translated.
But we need the automatic English subtitles.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But basically, this is the road. You can see that there's branches sticking out. And it looks like that this second time around, it's just going right through it, no problem. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because those branches may not have been sticking out as much as the first time around versus second time around, whatever.
Well, and direction matters. Maybe they look more imposing going out the driveway than in. So it could be either. I mean, I know at some point they absolutely are going to incorporate some sort of memory or learning process into this, because they have to. Like every different person's just for what you were talking about, garages and driveways. Like your car needs to understand your garage, your driveway, your parking situation, and needs to remember that and then execute it repeatedly. And there's no way to do that with just publicly available mapping data at a high level. So they're going to have to do this at some point. Would just be surprised if they're already to that point yet. I think that, and it's just hard to know because, like I said, if you're going in a driveway versus out, it's going to be different. I wouldn't necessarily expect FSD to respond the same way in both situations. But it is possible. And especially in China, it seems like they're having to do a lot more, like just the overall different number of driving scenarios that they're being presented with in China is greater. And so maybe it's possible that they're doing something that's
different there,
more dependent on the local experience and some sort of memory. And that's if they are doing that, that's huge, because adding that memory into, like, in my mind, the level of quality of the FSD driver is basically there. Like, obviously they're still going to continue to improve that, but the two big bottlenecks behind that are better navigation data, which we've already talked about, and this memory piece. And so at some point right in this time frame is where I expect that Tesla has been starting to work on both of these problems. And like the fact that they're working with Baidu engineers for the navigation data in China tells me that they've already been working on their own internal maps. In China, they have to use the Baidu maps. So the only way that they can improve the quality of the Baidu maps is to work directly with Baidu. In the United States, they're not going to work with Google. Like, that's just not how this is going to go. They'll do it themselves, and there will be Tesla specific map solutions that they develop, and they have all the resources necessary to do that. And so they're probably deep into their Tesla custom mapping solution, and they've probably already started whatever this memory solution is going to look like as well. And I don't think we're going to know for certain until pretty close to when they say, okay, hey, we've been doing this memory thing now in the last few updates, because they're not really giving you the type of information in the release notes that would help you have confidence in this yet. And I think that they do try all this stuff and figure it out, and then they're like, okay, we're shipping this now, and it's been in the car for a while, but now we're telling you about it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But they did tell us it's coming. Can you believe it? It's performing so well, and it still doesn't have memory. We asked Grok what it thinks. Now, does Grok know? It uses existing knowledge that's out there, and this is what it said. Right? It said Tesla's FSD likely uses local memory or caching to recall roads, boosting performance on return trips. It blends real-time camera data with pre-mapped info, possibly storing temporary data from recent drives. Evidence suggests it may learn from driver nudges, gaining confidence on familiar routes, though this is debated. Think of it like short-term memory and its neural network adapting to recent road experiences. Yeah, I agree with you. It's too early to say that this is even happening, Okay, so a couple of videos here where these owners credit FSD for saving their lives. Again, when this starts going viral in Douyin, in their social media, this is what we need to see here.
这一个是在上周六的时候的一个非常惊险的一个情况。那全程呢是开启了 FSD 的自动驾驶，很快就能看到这个车道右边其实是变窄的一个状态。
He's watching the recording of a video of him following another car in a 2-lane road. There's a large semi to his right, and the road is starting to narrow. And then all of a sudden,
非常极限了。
that truck just comes into his lane, and there's very little room. And then, wow, like that was so close. Watch
an FSD slow down.
Yep, it slowed down and swerves to the left. You can see here, right there, and it gets so close.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, as it slowed down, it swerved hard to the left to avoid.
You wouldn't. So that's one thing, for example, that you wouldn't be able to do because you're driving and you can't, keep an eye on what's going on to your blind spot.
Yeah, the question is whether or not that truck was in his blind spot. He says if he were driving himself, he probably would have got hit. And, not driving in China, I don't know what the specific courtesy is. I would have been leaving more space for that truck to get in. If he
I think it was, like you said, narrow, and then it started to move, and it was like, whoa, hey, it's my turn, not your turn. And then it, kind of cutting. Ooh, okay. So this is another video here. You've got, there we go here. Tesla was driving in its lane when another car suddenly tried to merge into it. Tesla's FSD made a quick maneuver and avoided the collisions. Tesla saved a life. Let's take a look if we think that this is exactly what happened here. Take down the music here. Oh, is that it?
Wow, that was it.
This is the right side view.
Yeah, you almost don't even see it. Like you said, it's coming up from the blind spot.
What? Yeah. Oh, shit. Oh my gosh. Oh, I see. Yeah. It really didn't see you, and but the good thing, the car swerved, right?
Yeah. I mean, that one is scary because, like, you would have to have just very good situational awareness. It would be very, very easy to miss that car is coming up on you, and then, he's like another car, there's like multiple things going on there. He's overtaking you while another car then is merging into that lane, and then he's got to get out of that way. And I mean, the fact that didn't turn into an accident was semi-miraculous, and FSD is just great at having maneuvers. Those reactions.
Yeah, and you don't even realize it's happening, and this is why you want to keep it turned on. I went to Portland this weekend, and we had FSD turned on the whole time everywhere because I felt safer. Honestly, it's now that good that I felt so much safer. So I think we're almost there that people will start believing that. All right, here's big news. This is not quite news yet. This is Keith Rowland's shop, and he is part of Mr. Green, which is an organization in Europe that owns, I think, 3,000 or maybe now 5,000 Teslas.
It's a bunch, yeah.
And they're renting it lease out to people, and they plan to be a robo-taxi fleet manager. And so they've been waiting very closely and following closely. How soon is FSD going to be approved, robotaxi approved in Europe? we all think that it's very full of regulation. Well, Keys published this article. I highly recommend people to go to his X account, read the article. But he's saying Tesla's FSD Supervisor is about to launch in Europe. Can you believe this? And the Netherlands will be the first. He's saying that Tesla's not going to wait for this organization called UNECE to catch up. Instead, they're going to use this exemption, this kind of like bylaw, this kind of a roundabout way, Article 39 exemption to bring FSD Supervisor to Europe sooner than expected. If approved in May, that's like now, right? April, May, 2 months, Tesla could immediately roll out FSD in the Netherlands, full Europe-wide expansion following later in the year. This would make Tesla the first automaker to introduce hands-free driving under European law, which will be a major breakthrough for autonomy in the region. He says in his article, he explains how is Tesla bypassing this regulatory delays that UNECE has. Why is the Netherlands the launch market? And when will your country get FSD supervised? He breaks it down. Do you think this is believable?
Well, I certainly think that, they're close enough on the ground to follow this very well and have the connections to be able to have a good sense of what is coming. And basically the case that he lays out is that there is this Article 39 exemption that is something that's available in the Netherlands for Tesla to apply for. And it's basically says, hey, instead of changing a whole bunch of the current regulations that exist for a new and innovative technology, we're going to basically, like it sounds, have an exemption where we get to do this new thing and we get to try it. And then we'll, worry about all of the making the regulations and the new technology marry up later. And if they can get that in the Netherlands to work, which they're expecting, like you said, in May, I don't know how to handicap whether or not they're correct, but they're expecting that actually to be finalized and for Tesla to receive its ability to do that in May. That everything is basically processed and approved in the Netherlands. And then once they do that, they'll be able to go. So then from there, there's a pathway for the rest of the EU to recognize this exemption that the Netherlands has given them. And if you're not really familiar with the geography of Europe, the Netherlands is kind of sandwiched in between Germany and France. Belgium is kind of in between the Netherlands and France, but it's still like you've got Germany here, you got France over here, and then there's like Netherlands and Belgium that are smushed together in between those two countries. And so it's kind of like the dead middle of the European continent, on the very northern side of Europe. And so that position means that, and the fact that, Europe, they like to have reciprocity on a whole lot of things, helps them to have pull to say, hey, we're allowing this here and we're a member of the EU, and this should be something that the rest of the EU now allows as well. And so we'll see if all of the subsequent things line up. I do expect some pushback on this, but it would be incredible. Like there is definitely a path and a possibility that in 2026, that FSD is actually widely available in all of Europe, not just the Netherlands, but even just getting it approved in May to operate in the Netherlands only, that is a big deal as the first country in Europe to allow it and to hopefully give it full capabilities. If they are able to go straight to FSD V13 or maybe even V14 with the full set of functions that are available here in the United States, basically overnight, that's big, and it signals the dominoes, starting to fall for Europe as well as a market. And that is something that I would, especially if, we see that happening right at the same time, then we're seeing robotaxis launch here in the United States. It could be kind of a violent signal for the market that, hey, wow, this stuff is real and it's happening faster than people expected. And now we actually have to incorporate it into our valuation models much more quickly than previously anticipated.
Global. I'm still very skeptical because it's Europe, right? Regulation and all. But the way you just said, right? If they launch it in the US, which they have, and they are, and it's moving fast, the FSD supervisor is approved in the US for years. Now they got it in China. Is Europe going to sit there, politicians, and going, no, No, they're going to be going, we need to copy it no matter what. We can't fall behind even further. And so that's the only thing I can think of. And Tesla themselves they've been so confident that they're going to launch Tesla FSD in Europe this first half of this year. And so where did they come up with that? They must have known about these kinds of discussions that they're already having. So let's hope.
Yeah, I'm sure this is a plan that they developed quite a while back that's just now coming into focus for the rest of the Tesla community.
So this is moving fast. Okay. We know now that BYD announced 2 weeks ago that we're going to include some sort of ADAS to all of our cars. They now know this is table stakes. All cars need to say that they have this. Now you've got another company called Zeekr. Zeekr, by the way, is a partner with Waymo here in the US. We still don't know how they're going to bring their Zeekr cars in the US. Probably not, but it's a way for Waymo to go global. Anyways, Tesla's China rival Zeekr is going to roll out advanced driver assistance system for free. It's going to be given to its local customers. Zeekr CEO Andy An told at launch event on Tuesday, it's the latest Chinese electric vehicle brand to upgrade its driver assistance products. As Tesla's showing, right? People want FSD in China. It's now gone viral in China. So now it's like forces all these other car companies to say, hey, we've got it too. So people think that the competition is the Chinese. No, it's Tesla pushing the Browns. Now they have to step up and say they've got it too. Driver assistance over the last 2 years has increasingly become a selling point for new energy vehicles in China. So this is Zeekr. And so it says here, though, the tech enables the car to drive nearly autonomously from one preset destination to another, as long as drivers keep their hands on the steering wheel and there's regulatory approval. So this is sounding like this is not just autopilot in highways. This is similar to what FSD has. And of course, now we know as videos are coming out that Tesla's FSD is a generation or even two better than all the others out there. So don't expect this to be a competitor necessarily. We're watching, how Tesla's much better. It's going to be free, rolled out to a pilot group initially, then released to the public in April. So it's going to be soon. And he basically said, look, we can't be charging for this. So it's either in this period of development, it sounds like that it's actually not going to be good. And that's why I can't really charge people for it. And also they know that they need to eat the cost. We need to bear some of the costs. They can't be charging this. Previously only offered basic driver assistance such as parking. So it's going to include NVIDIA chips. So it costs them money to buy those NVIDIA chipsets. And it's going to be a LiDAR and a light detection system at the beginning. And eventually, they're going to add more LiDARs to this, but it's one long-range LiDAR and four shorter-range LiDAR units will be the coming system. So they need to, start somewhere to do that. What's your thoughts about Zeekr?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see more competition on this, and I still think, using LiDAR is the wrong technical solution here.
Yep.
But I understand that is something that engineers love. Like we even saw how much Mark Rober loves LiDAR, and he wants the world to know that LiDAR is awesome just this last week. And it really is, one of the mistakes that is very, very, very easy for engineers to make. But that said, and of course, just for a little bit of background here for a second, Zeekr is the partner that Waymo is using to also design the next generation of Waymo vehicles. Whether they'll be able to bring those to the United States is kind of remains to be seen. And so that's another reason why Zeekr is going to be heavily down the path of the LiDAR vehicles, is because they're already this is their business plan with Waymo to develop this technology and continue to improve it. And so it's kind of something that makes sense for them that, hey, we're doing this partnership with Waymo where we build the cars and then they build the software. Let's also here in China figure out how to do the software ourselves so that we can make this technology work here domestically. So not surprising to his point. It's not going to be great to begin with. They have to bear the cost. It's going to be a lot of probably just choppy rollout, but it's one more thing that tells us that we're getting closer and closer to ubiquitous full self-driving technology, autonomous vehicles that can pick you up and take you wherever you want to go. And the more entrants that we see really trying to solve this, I think the more signal that we have as investors that this technology it's time for this technology to actually succeed.
The question I want to ask people to really sit and think about, if Waymo is so far ahead, why do they only have 700 cars, 1,000 cars? Why just 1,000? Why don't they already have 10,000 by now, 50,000 by now, if they're so far ahead? Ask yourself that question. Now, if Zeekr was their partner, why does it feel like they're being pulled in here, kicking and screaming, saying we need to eat the costs? Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to charge subscription, unfortunately, based on our product development. They should have been saying, we are so far ahead of everyone else. I'm the partner of Waymo. I'm going to launch this. LiDAR as a solution. They can't afford it. It costs them too much money per car. They're doing this just for marketing's sake. You know what I mean? Like, you got to ask, why is it taking so long if that's the case?
And technically, there's a reason that being able to solve the 99.99% of corner cases is a lot harder with LiDAR than it is with vision, because LiDAR does not get the same amount of context. Like, you have to have an incredibly proficient vision system to solve full self-driving. That's not
regardless
negotiable.
If you have LiDAR. Yeah,
regardless of whether you're using LiDAR or not. And that's the thing that Elon, there's a couple of, first, the camera system is cheaper. And so you can deploy it farther, faster, on more roads faster. And it forces you to solve the hard problem of self-driving, which is understanding the context and nuance of every single different type of scenario that a self-driving vehicle can get itself into. And through understanding that context, you solve the piece of self-driving that is nearly impossible, and that's intelligence. You can do that with cameras. You could, there's nothing that, if LiDAR is this special thing, that says that Tesla couldn't add LiDAR to their vision system once their vision system fully works. But that's, everyone keeps trying to go down this LiDAR thing, and this is why Elon said it's a dead end, is because you make it far enough down the path to think that you're on the right path, but it can just never solve all of those corner cases, all the March of Nines, all the infinite edge cases to a level of reliability to where you have a commercial system that works, that you can sell to your customers without getting people into wrecks and bankrupting your company in litigation. And this is why Waymo only has 700 cars, is because it takes a whole lot of extra work to keep those 700 cars from running into things compared to what Tesla's vision-based system does. And so that mismatch is the thing. And like, the vision and the intelligence is the critical piece of technology that has to be solved. And no one else is investing the amount of focus and time and research and energy and doing all the things to solve that problem. And the people that are not solving that problem are not going to create a general driving solution that is what's necessary in order to make a lot of money on robo-taxis as a service.
Well said. Thank you for explaining all that. That's important. Like, yeah, Tesla could add LiDAR later if it was really needed, but you need to solve most of it first. Here's what's happening with Tesla in China. It's actually good news. Okay, so last week, March 10th to 16th, China's reported 15,000 insurance registrations. This is great. The quarter is negative 38% quarter on quarter. That's because of the obviously December quarter. Q4 is always much higher than Q1, but also the transition of the new Model Y. But it's only 4% year to year. So in fact, Roland believes that Tesla could actually beat last year's Q1. Here we have we're looking at the pink, which is the first quarter of 2025. We got a few weeks left here. And the green is what happened in Q1 of 2024. So we're just there. In fact, we're probably going to beat it if everything keeps moving along quite nicely. Here's the insurance data for per year in the first few weeks of the year, the blue, 2025. And we're not that far off if you look at all the others out there. So despite everybody thinking that there's been a massive fall off in China, It's not what we're showing here. So we could actually still beat the last year's year-over-year. The resumption of Model Y deliveries, sales have increased by 1,500 each week. So Roland's expecting that the next several weeks, it's hopefully beyond 15,000, but maybe 17,000. If that's the case, it will beat it from last year. Now he's warning that rumors are we will no longer get these weekly car sales data from China. So right now, let's appreciate that we do get it. We can track it closer. So this is what he's saying, that China weekly sales data per model seems to do well. And Model 3 is doing just fine. So if you want to know whether or not there's brand damage in a country, take a look at Model 3 sales. If it falls too, then you know it's not because of a transition to a new model. It's because people don't want it for some reason. And right now you can see Model 3 is holding firm in Tesla. The interesting thing here, Hans, is that Tesla China increased the price of the new Model Y long range by $1,400, 3.3%. The price of the entry level is lower. Maybe they're doing a little bit more of a separation. Maybe you can explain, do you think that there's some sort of demand? They do have this 3-year 0% interest rate and 5-year low interest financing policies for these if you place it by April 30th. So they're certainly asking them to come and buy these. What's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, there's two different ways to interpret the price increase. One of the things that's undeniable is that it signals there's somewhat of a mismatch between supply and demand, that there's not enough cars to meet the demand. So then you can interpret that fact one of two ways. You can either say, well, the production ramp must be going a little bit slower than they had hoped, and that's why there's more demand for the car, there's more buyers for the car than we can produce. And so because we're not ramping as quickly as we would like, now we have to increase the price so that we reduce new orders so that we don't generate a backlog. The other way to interpret this is that actually the production ramp is going just fine. Maybe it's at on target or even above what they planned for at this point in time, or what they thought was possible. And even with high levels of ramp and production, they're still seeing more demand for this vehicle than they can keep up with. And so they're having to increase the prices. Either way, it's a positive sign for the margins that we should see on the vehicle as they're ramping up. And I tend towards the latter, just looking at all the reaction between the FSD buzz that's all of a sudden taking over in China right now, and just the consumer sentiment that we see around the refreshed Model Y. I do expect the refreshed Model Y to have a lot higher demand for in China than the outgoing Model Y, and that to actually boost the sales there in China. And so I think it's a little bit more likely to be that the production ramp is going basically at the target rate that they were looking for, and it's still just having a hard time keeping up with new orders. And because of that, they're having to increase these prices. Now, we'll continue to track data and see how that turns out. But I think that that's probably where we're at right now.
Thank you so much, Hans. A great show today, as always. We watched a bunch of FSD videos. FSD could be launching in Netherlands next month. That would be a surprise if that happened. China's going to roll out some sort of subscription monthly. Zeekr is now saying that they're going to do this for free. And we just look at the weekly sales for Tesla, seems to be doing just fine in China. Thanks, Hans. Follow him on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.